Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to introduce the eOceans MPA Health Tracker and MPA Health Score, the first software tool for affordable, collaborative, transparent, real-time marine protected area performance tracking that is scalable to any MPA or MPA network to maximize their success. These tools are exclusively available on the eOceans platform. Let's dive in. As everyone who is watching is well aware, marine protected areas are essential for protecting and restoring ecosystem health, human well-being, and the countless services that the ocean provides. They are unfortunately needed because of centuries of misuse, missed or misinformation, and delayed action. And they're especially important today with the push to grow the ocean or blue economy. Therefore, the science suggests that a minimum of 30% of the world's ocean be covered in highly protected marine protected areas by 2030. A lot of time, resources, and funding are being spent on MPAs. It is not a trivial exercise, and there's no one right way to do it. So the global networks of marine protected areas are highly complex. They vary in size, placement, location, duration, objectives and goals and policies, awareness and acceptance by the community, enforcement, as well as biological, social, and economic conditions, anthropogenic conditions, oceanographic conditions, and the factors that are inside versus outside the MPA. And the social dimensions are also complex. Restricting access makes sense when we think about all the destructive ocean activities, but they can also displace traditional and local users of the space, who are also the local knowledge holders and protectors, if they're not well thought through. Some countries have spent millions of dollars assessing just one MPA, and the gold standard is currently a decadal review. But a lot can change in 10 years, especially with illegal activities, climate change, invasive species, pollution, developments, industrial fishing, fish kills, whale collisions, diseases, and so on. These assessments almost never or poorly investigate the social values of an MPA. And those are often the values used to sell the MPA to the community in the first place when they're top-down driven. It is simply not good enough to draw lines on a map and expect MPAs to work. Many of my own research projects over the last 2 decades, combined with a wealth of knowledge generated by other researchers, has found that some MPAs don't work and were never going to work. They just weren't designed to work. Most highly mobile megafauna are not likely to be protected without very large MPAs. Many MPAs don't address the biggest threats to the species and ecosystems. Illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing and international trade threats are often unfazed by many MPAs without strict enforcement, and there are many other barriers to MPAs. As you are aware, many MPAs just become paper parks, no better than the paper that they're printed on. Some are actually worse because they get fished hard when an area gets proposed as an MPA. From my perspective, as someone who has been asked to review and assess different marine management and conservation policies, we urgently needed affordable, collaborative, transparent tools for scalably tracking MPA performance in real time, regardless of size, objectives, goals, threats, etc. To maximize understanding, acceptance, and action by all stakeholders and rights holders. And it needs to work before and after the MPA was created, as well as inside and outside, by zone, and cover all biological, social, and anthropogenic dimensions, and their interactions. Because it's not enough just to track a fish, but also fish with people and pollution. We've spent the last 5 years designing and building the MPA Health Tracker and MPA Health Score to make this happen. So how does it work? There are 5 main steps. The first step is to set up your project. This can be done by MPA consultants, NGOs, MPA managers, decision makers, government organizations, community groups, really anyone that has an interest in organizing a group of people to track the success of an MPA or a proposed MPA or other ocean area. Then the first step is to head over to eoceans.app. Log in and open your dashboard. Then click on pricing and review and select the tools you need. how many people do you want to contribute, and what add-ons or analytics you need. All projects come with summary analytics, but here for MPAs, you'll add the MPA Health Tracker, which includes the MPA Health Score, an expert-developed model that describes the social, biological, and anthropogenic conditions of the MPA. Then add your project details, your logo, banner, images, some text. In the project scope section, we have over 200,000 species to choose from, but here you'll likely select all to get the biodiversity of the MPA, or all species observed. The next part is the human dimension. What human dimension, either how people are valuing the MPA or the threats. I would again choose all. And you can choose which activities you want to gather data from. For example, if you only wanted scuba divers to be reporting or sailors to be reporting, you can choose that. But again, I would probably choose all for MPAs. Then you define the study area. This is the MPA boundaries, for example. You can upload a custom shapefile or a CSV with the boundaries that can include zones. If you've added zones, the analysis will be done for the whole MPA as well as for each zone. And if you're interested in how the MPA compares to the area immediately around it for spillover effects or people fishing the line, for example, then you can add a buffer. This is what it might look like in your dashboard, depending on how you populate it, with each of these tabs relating to different aspects of your project. One more technical thing about setting up your project is that you can crawl open source databases to add data, existing data to your project to be added to your analysis. Okay, after you've got your project set up, step 2 is to invite your team. Your team can just be you or a couple of your colleagues if that's what you want, or you can invite the public, which is almost always my preference. You could also have teams for just your team as well as another one for the public. To invite people, head over to your Users tab, and that's where you can add administrators and contributors. Okay, you've got your project set up and you've got some contributors. Now you need to generate data. For this, your team needs to download the eOceans app. It's free for anyone to log data and share their observations with you. They create an account and then they join your team. Once they join your team, every time they log relevant observations, those data automatically go to your project. eOceans does all the hard work for you. They don't need to decide whether or not the observations are relevant to your project based on whether or not they were inside the MPA or outside the MPA or in the buffer or in zone 1 or 2. eOceans does that, makes that decision for them. They can log any animals and their number, issues and the number, and the values, like who's using the MPA for different purposes. And we make it super simple to gather zeros because the zeros are important for tracking trends, weekly trends, seasonal trends, annual trends. And not only can they log the presence of animals, but also their condition, any injuries that they see or diseases or behaviors like mating or feeding. It can all be collected in the eOceans app and analyzed in the eOceans platform. To reiterate, they log observations. They may log 1,000 observations in a day. Perhaps only 100 of those observations took place inside of the MPA that you are interested in and that are relevant to your project. You'll only get those 100 observations. No work needed on your end or the contributors' end. Okay, now you've got a project up and running. Your team is contributing relevant data. The next step is to sit down and review the results. Wait, did you notice? You didn't need to do any of the manual manipulation of data. You didn't need to take handwritten notes and to enter them into spreadsheets and to write code to QA/QC and to analyze them. All that manual, tedious work, it's done for you. You can do this in your dashboard, reviewing the results, or eventually in the mobile app. We just don't have it there yet. Everyone on the team and others who follow the project can review the results. Depending on what analytical packages you signed up for, your results will differ. It depends on your needs. Tracking a single species, like resident killer whales or oceanic white-tip sharks, is different than tracking an MPA. But here I've shown the MPA Health Score, which is a gauge display that shows your MPA's current score. It is an algorithm that essentially uses the biological and social conditions and penalizes for the anthropogenic conditions to generate the score. This is how you can know how your MPA is doing today compared to previous years, and to be able to compare it to other MPAs in the network and beyond. Then you can always download an analytical report of the MPA to share with others or to archive. And if you've enabled data downloads, you can download all your data with the metadata in a standardized interoperable format. And the last step is to discuss the results with your team and decide if anything needs to be changed. To be clear, eOceans is not a data collection app. It is a powerful platform as a service that includes data collection and analytics and dissemination. Users own their data and decide how their data can be used. They can share with no one or with thousands of projects. They can help interpret results that they've contributed to and are empowered to facilitate knowledge distribution and to be an integral part of the action dialogue. Because sensors won't save the ocean, but people can. The MPA Health Tracker and SCORE are here to help. The MPA Health Tracker can also be used seamlessly with other projects to track any other part of the world's ocean at the global, ocean, fishing zone, or MPA scale, any scale you choose. And it can be used to track any species or issue in any of those areas. I'm Dr. Christine Wardpage, the founder and CEO of eOceans, and I'd be happy to connect with you by email, on LinkedIn, or your method of choice. eOceans, for the ocean, for us.